YouTube, an amazing unboxing today. I got a super Urwerk, which is like the holy grail, the modern holy grail. I got two uber special Rolexes, along with some of the regular stuff, and a really good AP, so stay tuned. Let's get the run-of-the-mill stuff out of the way, right? Let's see. Not the Oyster Flex for a change, but its predecessor, and that is the ceramic on a leather strap. I personally love the fact that I took that and upgraded it to an Oyster Flex because I guess it's a little bit more, what's the word I'm looking for? Where you can use it every which way. Versatile, thank you, I appreciate it. But if I'm wearing a sports watch, and Daytona is the quintessential sports watch, whether it's in gold and stainless steel, I think I would rather have rubber so I can go swimming and so on and so forth. People tell me you can't go swimming in a leather strap. You actually can, believe it or not, and I've done that in the past. What ends up happening is once it dries, the bottom of it actually turns dark. Does it, ruin the leather essentially? Eventually it will if you do it enough times, but for the most part, leather straps are meant to be changed out. So don't be afraid. If you really want to take a dip with your watch with a leather strap, just be prepared to buy a new one at some time later, and you still can. I mean, it's a day-date. It's a pretty day-date. You know, it's a black dial, yellow stick dial, pretty yellow gold day-date. Yeah, what can I say about the day-dates that I haven't already said about 40,000 times over, with the exception of the fact that I actually prefer the day-date with a champagne dial, i.e. the gold dial, giving you the illusion of that big chunk of gold, because when it comes to presidents, I'm a strong believer that a day-date should be in yellow gold and yellow gold only. Adrian did make a statement, a bold statement, that this is the year that yellow gold is going to be coming back strong, and we already saw with some of the new releases from Audemars Piguet where they made the skeleton double balance in a yellow gold. We're going to be seeing more yellow gold Urwerk. And this is going to be a very dramatic reveal. Ready? Look at that. And what we're talking about here is we're talking about the UR220, known as the Falcon, an extremely limited production watch from Urwerk. Now, it's very difficult to talk about vintage and modern when it comes to some of the younger independent brands, where, you know, by definition, independent brands are around that 20-year-old mark, right? You have to kind of go back to the beginning, and I'll use Richard Mille as an example. So for example, today, quote unquote, neo vintage or older Richard Milles that are like sort of grail. So first of all, the RM001, right? You have the 012 tourbillon. Those are some of the grails that you see from Richard Mille today, and those are considered to be on the older side, right? I've been preaching about 002s and 003s, i.e. the tourbillon and the tourbillon GMT. Those are those sleepers, those quote unquote vintage watches. They're not really vintage because the brand is not old enough, but in comparison to its modern counterparts, that's what they come out to be. Now, if you fast forward to today, obviously the hot stuff is going to be your TPT stuff, right? Stuff that's made out of those carbons and things of that nature. So today's holy grail for somebody in a modern lineup would be probably go with a variation of a Bubba Watson, right? Because that's like the watch to have, or some sort of an 1103 and a TPT version, be blue, white, etc. Well, Urwerk's equivalent of, let's say, that RM02 or 01 would be the Cobra that I showed you guys a little while back that literally sold within like 48 hours, right? That's from the older lineup. From the newer lineup, it's going to be this watch. And again, this watch is constructed out of carbon as well. So this is the Falcon, and this is sort of that modern holy grail from Urwerk, right? So if you wanted to look new and old, this is the watch you would go for. Again, very, very scarce, not really easy to find at all. And it's a hell of a looker. I mean, if you just like the way the carbon is done, the way the strap is done, everything. Matter of fact, I'm just gonna wear it for a couple of days. I'm gonna borrow it. Some of the older Urwerks and were somewhat awkward on the wrist. I think with the introduction of this rubber strap, and it's just now, even with my swell wrist, it sits well, it's comfortable, it's super light. It's a very cool watch. I'm just gonna wear that for a second. My favorite color box is green, and not Rolex, but Audemars Piguet. And in here we got, ooh, now this is a special one. This is the IP. IP in Audemars Piguet stood for watches that they made with platinum bezel as an extremely, extremely limited production. This is a stainless steel watch with a platinum bezel. You'll notice the high finish on the bezel. Looks like somebody over polished it, but that's not the case. That's how the watch was made. They made it in an automatic, and they also made it in the chronograph. We've sold probably 5 or 6 of the chronographs, and we've sold maybe 2 or 3 of those, because those don't come around often. Those that were allocated that watch, most collectors, they actually kept that watch because it's absolutely impossible to find. People ask me, hey, if I want to spend a little more, what do I put away? This would be the watch I would highly recommend. That's one special AP. Let's move on to another special AP. a concept GMT is not enough, what do? You upgrade to the flying concept GMT, or just another version that Audemars Piguet came up with at a later time. And again, big upgrade with the flying tourbillon and also design. If you looked at the dial of that watch, a lot more depth, a lot more, I don't want to say busy, but a lot more going on in the dial. It's the way it's designed, everything is positioned really, really well, yet it adds a little bit of oomph to its original predecessor. I told you guys numerous times in the past that, look, the concept, the original ·Alange concept is my favorite complication from Audemars Piguet. With these guys redesigning this dial, adding the gold elements, adding the depth to this watch, I think it's an amazing, amazing upgrade, but yet still, it's still a little ridiculous on my wrist, but I don't care. There's no way to like gain wrist size, right? That's like gaining penis size. Without surgery, that's not gonna happen, right? All right, I didn't think so. I'll probably be the first person in the world to have wrist surgery, just to have a bigger wrist, right? Heavy. If it's heavy, it's gotta be the brick. What's special about this watch? Now, this is one of the original beasts, the ones that were produced later, because the original beast was a D serial. This is now an E serial, I believe. Again, condition is everything. This is one of those watches that's been unmolested over the years. And one of the biggest reasons I bought this is the dial. And you'll notice that the dial has gone tropical on that watch, which also happens on Audemars Piguet. I've had a original D serial beast in stainless steel that was completely tropical. That is a beautiful tropical dial. And again, tropical dials are weird. It's like one could be more expensive than the other because it's all about the overall look and how the dial is turning. Sometimes these dials, they don't turn very evenly. You'll see like a peeling effect at 12 o'clock and then the rest is still blue. When you get this even browning, okay, and you get that dial turning like evenly, nicely tropical, that makes it worth more because, as I told you guys in the past, vintage watches are a lot about eye appeal, right? One vintage watch can be a lot more appealing than the other, even though the value should kind of be the same if you think about it, but it's not. Anna, why are you lurking in the back? What you need? What do you need? You my safe?
Yes.
I'll go get it. So throughout the day, you know, not to run down to the vault, the guys and girls here like to use my gun safe to temporarily put stuff in there. And then at the end of the night before I leave, they have to make sure they put it all in the vault. Or the most popular watch in the world, not just any Daytona. This has a little bit of diamonds on it. It's just a little bit of diamonds on it, but somebody put the diamonds in wrong, as that somebody would say. Or this is, as it's known, a sideways baguette bezel diamond dial yellow gold Daytona. This is a knockout of a watch. I've talked numerous times about sleepers. I've talked numerous times about diamond encrusted Rolexes, and what do we talk about every single time? The same thing over and over, and that is production numbers, right? Anybody tells you that knows how many of these were made, they are lying to you, myself included. That's why I never say how many are made, but I use common sense, and I've said this numerous times. Common sense will tell you that not a whole lot of those were made because there's not a whole lot of buyers out there for that. When you guys look at these watches and you think in terms of collectability, don't look at current market environment, right? Because in a current market environment, you would think, oh my God, this is the grail and it's so super duper collectible. Step back away from that and think about the time when that watch came out, and think about, you know, before there was a line out the door to buy pretty much any Rolex that shows up on the shelf, how many of these were actually made? Because this is not for everyone. Now, this is a watch I would absolutely wear because I like bling. But at the same token, what I like about this is it's actually pretty subtle. If you look at conventional baguette bezel watches, right, they're a bit louder. If you look at, you know, round diamond bezels, they're a bit louder. This is somewhat subdued because of the way the baguettes are set. The last, and I think most special Rolex of this unboxing, most special watch of this unboxing, you guys have seen me show you some pretty rare Khanjar watches, right? A while back, we had a Khanjar Patek 3700, one of 6 in the world, right? Well, I actually made some notes for a change on this particular one because I was doing my research and so on and so forth. So I am gonna read this off to you. Now, first I'm gonna show you the watch. Now, seemingly an old, beat up Datejust, right? With, you know, a 70% bracelet. I call this about 70%, right? Not a big deal watch, run-of-the-mill gold Rolex that you could probably find for no money out there, except I want you to zoom in on this dial and notice there's a Khanjar on there, but what you've never seen is a Khanjar made out of gold put on top of the dial. Now, I am going to go back to my notes, put on my bifocals, as Adrian likes. These are not bifocals, by the way. These are just Regular focals. By the way, a lot of people ask me about these. $20 on Amazon. If you lose your readers, this is the best thing since sliced bread. It goes in the back of your phone, you will never lose it. And if you do lose it, it's $20 to replace it. Given by Sultan Qaboos bin Saeed, Sultan of Oman. And people from Oman and in the Middle East will say rest in peace. After that is the proper thing to do. He's no longer with us. Okay, so the Sultan gave this to the person that wrote the national anthem of Oman as a gift. Okay, it is one of the earliest known variants of the Khanjar emblem, made of a piece of gold and least seen in auctions. The same logo on a Day-Date has been seen in Christie's auction and in one of the books, but this variant on a Datejust has never surfaced the web or auctions ever. And remember, all the Khanjar stuff was commissioned by Asprey of London, right? They're the ones that put the Khanjars onto the Patek's, the Rolexes, and so on and so forth. And this was done in the 70s by Asprey, again, by the order of the late Sultan. So I think the only thing that's comparable to that I've had here would be on a level of rarity, would probably be the 3700 Khanjar. We had one in white gold, which I made 3 of, and we had one in yellow gold, which they made 6 of. This is the first time ever I am seeing this particular one. And again, it's not necessarily like a wonderful jewelry job if you zoom in on the Khanjar and so on and so forth, but the fact remains that this is probably one of the rarest Khanjar watches you'll ever see in your life, and that makes it the most special watch of this unboxing. That makes it the most special Rolex of this unboxing, and it probably makes it one of the most special Rolexes I've received to date. YouTube, thank you so much for tuning in as always. Like, comment, share, subscribe, and I will see you on the next one.